My wife spent our emergency fund on Botox. While I was laid off, so I froze our accounts. Took the car and never came back. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and I always believed marriage was supposed to be a partnership, especially when life got hard. For 7 years, my wife Kendra and I had built what I thought was a solid life. Nothing fancy. A small 2-bedroom house, 1 car, and quiet Friday nights eating takeout on the couch. We didn't have everything, but we had each other. At least that's what I believed. When I lost my job at the logistics firm, it felt like the ground gave way beneath me. One meeting, one polite handshake, and suddenly I was another position eliminated. I came home that day with a box of desk junk and a knot in my stomach. Kendra was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the screen. "I got laid off," I said quietly. She looked up, blinked twice, and said, "Oh, wow, that sucks, babe. But hey, maybe it's a sign you'll find something better." Her tone was airy, almost casual. I told her we'd have to cut back, skip dinners out, cancel her salon appointments for a while. She nodded quickly, smiled, and said, "Of course. We'll get through this together." That sentence, "we'll get through this together," replayed in my head for days. It gave me hope. I spent every morning sending out resumes, pacing the living room with my laptop open, coffee gone cold. And every evening I'd look at her, still glowing, still ordering things online, and remind myself that we were a team. But there was something in her eyes I didn't catch then. Something distant, detached, like she'd already decided she wasn't going through anything with me. And soon, I'd find out just how far from together we really were. Back when things were good, maybe even great, I'd started setting aside a little money every month. Just $200 here or $50 there. I kept it quiet at first, but eventually told Kendra about it, and she actually seemed impressed. "You're such a planner," she said, kissing my cheek. "That's why I feel safe with you." By the time I lost my job, we had just over $12,000 in that emergency fund. I was proud of that. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to get us through a few months of bills, groceries, maybe even the mortgage if I stretched things right. I told Kendra we'd need to be smart about it. Bare essentials only until I got back on my feet. She nodded again, kissed my forehead, and told me she trusted me to handle it. At first, things were tight but manageable. I cooked more at home, canceled Netflix, started cutting coupons like a retiree. Kendra made a show of being on board, said she'd skip her monthly facials and cut back on Uber Eats. But then I started noticing things. Small at first, on an Amazon box on the porch when we'd just agreed no online shopping. A new pair of heels in the closet with the tags still on. I asked her about them and she laughed it off. "These? Oh, babe, I bought these months ago." They were just hiding in the back of the closet. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. After all, this was our safety net. She wouldn't burn through it. Not Kendra. But one night, I checked the savings account. It wasn't at $12,000 anymore. It was at $3,408. My hands went cold. My ears rang. Something was very, very wrong. Around the same time I noticed the missing money, I started noticing her. Not in the usual husband way. Not like when she walks into a room and I smile because she's mine. No, this was different. She started changing. Her lips looked fuller. Her skin tighter. There was a weird plastic sheen to her forehead, like her expressions had been filed down. At first, I thought I was imagining things. Maybe she'd started drinking more water or gotten more sleep. But then she came home with a brand new Louis Vuitton tote, holding it in that way women do when they want you to ask. "Kendra," I said, trying to stay calm. "Where did that come from?" She grinned. "Oh, my sister gifted it to me. Early birthday present." Her sister, by the way, works as a receptionist at a dental office and drives a beat-up Corolla with 3 different colored doors. No way she was casually handing out $1,000 purses. Then it was the spa days. She'd leave the house in sweats and come back glowing, literally. Her face would be slightly red and puffy in that I definitely just had something injected kind of way. One night, she sat across from me at dinner, barely touching her food, scrolling her phone. I couldn't stop staring at her face. It looked newer, sharper, less hers. "I didn't know Botox could buy groceries," I said, a little too bitterly. She didn't even look up. Just smiled and said, "You're cute when you're grumpy." I wanted to scream. But instead, I sat there, eating dried chicken while my wife, the woman I thought was riding out this storm with me, was busy building a whole new version of herself, with money I thought was keeping us alive. It all came crashing down over a loaf of bread. I was at the grocery store picking up basics, eggs, rice, and a cheap loaf of bread. Nothing fancy. I'd gotten used to living lean, trying to stretch every dollar, counting each cent before tapping my card. But that day, for the first time in years, my card was declined. I blinked at the screen, hoping it was a glitch. I swiped again. Declined. The cashier gave me that awkward smile, the kind that slices your pride clean in half. I mumbled something about a bank error and left the basket behind, my ears burning with humiliation. The moment I got home, I went straight to my laptop, logged into our joint account. And there it was, line after line of transactions. I didn't recognize 200, Medspa Luxe 950, Dermy Aesthetic 600, Glow and Go Botox Lounge 380, Lush Skin Studio in total, over $9,000 gone. Not for rent, not for bills, for Botox, fillers, facials, and God knows what else. I didn't wait. I stormed into the living room, laptop in hand, and showed her the screen. She didn't even flinch. Didn't look scared. Just rolled her eyes and said, "You act like I bought a yacht." A yacht? "Kendra, that was our emergency fund," I snapped. "That was supposed to keep us afloat." "I am afloat," she said, standing up, brushing past me with her new lashes fluttering.
I just wanted to feel good about myself. That was the first time it hit me. She wasn't just careless.
She was cold, and I wasn't married to a partner anymore. I was living with a stranger who didn't even flinch when she sank our safety net for a pick-me-up. That night, we fought. I don't mean yelled, I mean ripped open. I told her she betrayed me, that she spent the only thing keeping us from drowning, just so she could keep up appearances. Her response, a laugh. Not a nervous one, a cruel, sharp one that echoed off the walls. "You're being so dramatic," she said, flipping her hair over one shoulder. "It's not like we're homeless." "Kendra," I said, voice shaking, "we have $3,000 left. I'm unemployed, and you're walking around like you're auditioning for a reality show." She crossed her arms, lips perfectly puffed, and stared at me like I was the villain. "You're killing my vibe," she said. "Ever since you lost your job, this whole house feels like a graveyard. I'm just trying to stay sane. Stay sane? On Botox and shopping sprees?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried to appeal to the woman I used to know. The one who cried in my arms when her dad passed. The one who used to clip coupons with me during our broke newlywed years. But that version of her was gone, replaced by someone shiny, surface deep, and emotionally bulletproof. "You think looking pretty is more important than surviving?" I asked, quieter now. She didn't answer. She just picked up her phone and said, "If this is how you're gonna be, I'm sleeping in the guest room. I can't deal with your energy." My energy. That night, she slammed the door to the guest room, and I sat alone in the dark, staring at the bank statement one more time. Not to double-check. Just to feel the betrayal all over again, because somehow, even with the truth sitting in black and white on my screen, she still had me questioning if I was the one losing it. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She waltzed into the kitchen in a silk robe, humming, sipping almond milk from a glass straw. No apology. No remorse. Just sunshine and denial. And I played along for about 5 minutes until I opened my laptop again, because I needed answers. I needed to know if $9,000 on MedSpas was the whole story, or just the tip of something uglier. I logged into every account I could think of. The joint checking, the credit card we rarely used, even the store cards she'd claimed were closed years ago. My heart pounded with every login, and then it all came crashing down. Credit card for the one in my name that I didn't even remember applying for had a $15,700 balance. Maxed out. All recent, all luxury purchases. Designer brands. Spa retreats. One line item was for a 3-day beauty influencer boot camp. Another card, in both our names, $8,400, mostly Uber Eats, Sephora, and boutique hotel stays while I was home jobless and cooking cheap pasta. I felt nauseous. When I confronted her again, holding up the screen like a mirror, she rolled her eyes and said, "God, you're so invasive. Why are you spying on me?" "Because we're drowning," I said, my voice hoarse. "Because all of this is in my name. You're spending like we're billionaires while I'm applying to jobs I'm overqualified for just to keep us alive." She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I didn't marry you to live like a peasant." That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not violently, but like a floorboard slowly splitting beneath too much weight. And I knew. I couldn't trust a single word out of her mouth ever again. A few days later, I came home from a walk, something I'd started doing just to get out of the house and clear my head, and found her sitting at the dining table, arms crossed, phone face down in front of her. She didn't even wait for me to take my shoes off. "We need to talk," she said. I braced myself. I thought maybe she was finally going to apologize. Maybe she realized how far she'd taken things. But no, that would have made sense. Instead, she said, "I've been doing some reading about financial control, financial abuse." I blinked. "Come again?" "You've been monitoring my spending," she said calmly. "Freezing cards, locking me out of accounts. That's a form of financial manipulation. You're controlling." I actually laughed, not out of amusement, but sheer disbelief. "Kendra, you drained our savings for Botox and left me unable to buy groceries." "I had to," she snapped. "You weren't letting me live. You made me feel like I had to hide things just to breathe." That's when it hit me. She wasn't ashamed. She was rebranding herself as the victim, like I was some tyrant holding the family purse strings, while she was just a poor, stifled housewife begging for freedom. She stood up, eyes flashing, and said, "You think you're the only one suffering? You lost your job. Boo-hoo. I've had to deal with your sad energy for months. You walk around here like a martyr, but you're just pathetic." That word echoed in my skull. Pathetic. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything. I just walked to the bathroom, stared at my face in the mirror, tired eyes, unshaven jaw, the weight of disappointment sitting behind my ribcage like a second heart. And I realized she wasn't just entitled, she was dangerous. Because the second she felt cornered, she turned the whole narrative upside down and painted me as the monster. The next morning, I woke up before her. The house was silent except for the soft hum of the fridge and the click of my laptop as it opened. My hands shook as I typed, but my mind had never been clearer. I logged into every account, every card, every bank portal, every budgeting app, and shut it all down. I froze the joint savings, canceled the cards, transferred what little was left into a separate account in my name only. I even removed her access to our utility payments, not out of spite, but survival. I wasn't going to wait around to be bled dry and blamed for it. Then I opened the glove compartment in our car, our only car, and pulled out the title. I'd forgotten until that moment that it was in my name alone, not out of strategy, just a leftover technicality from when we bought it 3 years ago. But now, it was my last form of leverage. That night, while she was in the bathroom doing her 12-step skincare routine, I drove the car to my brother's place and left it there. Took an Uber home and told her it was at the shop for an oil issue. She didn't question it. She barely looked up from her phone. For the next few days, I smiled. I cooked dinner. I asked about her day. I even complimented her on her new lashes, the ones she'd probably stolen from the ghost of our emergency fund. But inside, I wasn't living with her anymore. I was observing her, watching how casually she betrayed me while acting like nothing had happened, and every quiet moment I gave her was one step closer to walking away for good. I became an actor in my own marriage. Every morning, I'd wake up next to her and pretend things were normal. I made coffee for both of us, laughed at her stories, nodded when she talked about how mentally draining her week had been, as if she hadn't spent it lounging, spending, and gaslighting me. But behind the scenes, I was building my exit. I created a new email, one she didn't know existed. I forwarded every document to it, credit card statements, screenshots of her transactions, even the text she sent her friend saying, "He's too passive to ever leave me LOL." That one stung more than I expected. I consulted a lawyer through a free legal aid clinic, told them everything. They advised me to secure my documents, find a safe place to land, and don't warn her. Narcissists, they said, lash out when they feel control slipping. So I started packing small things, stuff she wouldn't notice, my childhood photo albums, flash drives, my passport. At dinner one night, she asked, "You've been in a good mood lately. Did something change?" I smiled, just feeling hopeful. She raised an eyebrow, then shrugged and went back to her kale salad. It was wild, watching someone so self-absorbed they couldn't even feel the walls closing in. The only thing left was timing. I didn't want drama. I didn't want begging. I didn't want rage. I wanted quiet freedom. So I picked a random Tuesday, one where she had her 10 a.m. Pilates and her 2 p.m. hair appointment, the kind of day where she wouldn't notice I was gone until long after I disappeared, and by then, I'd be a ghost she couldn't reach. It was overcast that morning, the kind of dull gray that makes the world feel hushed, like even the sky's holding its breath. I loaded my bag into the back seat of the car, my car, parked safely at my brother's place for the past week. Inside was everything I cared about: my documents, my laptop, a small duffel of clothes, a framed photo of my late mom and me. And that was it. Everything else, the house, the furniture, even the wedding album, felt like dead weight I no longer needed. I went back to the house one last time. Quiet. Focused. Kendra was still in bed, face buried in pillows, one leg kicked out from the blanket. I watched her for a second, wondering if there was any part of her I'd miss. I didn't find one. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Simple, direct. Check the accounts, then check yourself. No anger, no apology. Just the truth in black ink. I locked the door behind me and got in the car. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from release. As I pulled away from the curb, I didn't look back. There was no point. That house wasn't home. That woman wasn't my wife anymore, not in any way that mattered. An hour into the drive, my phone lit up. Missed calls. 3 voicemails. Aye. String of texts. Where are you? Did you seriously take the car? You better answer me right now. I turned the phone off, rolled the window down, let the wind slap my face like a wake-up call. I wasn't running. I was finally free. By the time I checked my phone the next morning, I had over 70 missed calls. Voicemails ranged from frantic to furious. The first few were panicked. "Babe, where are you? I woke up and you were gone. Please, just call me." Then came the gaslight carousel. "This is insane. You're making a huge mistake. You're being cruel after everything I've done for you? Wow. So you're just gonna steal from me and vanish?" Steal. She said steal. She went on Instagram too, posted black and white selfies with cryptic captions like, "People show their true colors when you stop enabling them," and "Don't let broken men break you." Her friends, the ones who'd never even met me, flooded the comments with heart emojis and "You're so strong, babe." Meanwhile, I was lying on a mattress in my cousin's guest room, eating microwave noodles and rereading our marriage certificate like it was some kind of failed contract. But I didn't respond. Not once. I wanted to scream back, to defend myself, to post the receipts and call her out in front of everyone. But I knew better. Narcissists don't want closure. They want reaction. She even emailed me. I don't. Understand why you'd throw away everything over a few spa treatments. I said I'd pay you back. There was no apology, no real accountability, just a carefully worded plea to reset the narrative. Her version of "let's talk" always came with strings attached, but I was done playing the villain in her story. I let her spiral, let her shout into the void, because the silence she got from me, that was louder than anything I could have said. I was finally starting to breathe again when the letter arrived. It came in a plain white envelope from the local police department, addressed to me. My hands trembled as I opened it, my stomach already knowing it wasn't anything good. Inside was a formal notice. Kendra had filed a police report. She claimed I had stolen the car. She claimed I had emptied our bank accounts without her consent. She claimed I had left her stranded without food or transportation. I felt the blood leave my face. I read the letter 3 times, then a 4th. It didn't make sense. She knew the accounts were joint. She knew the car was in my name. But that didn't stop her from trying to destroy me. I called my lawyer immediately. She wasn't surprised. "It's a classic retaliatory move," she said, "but the burden of proof is on her. Just give me everything." So I did. I handed over documents, bank statements, the car title, the screenshots of her charges. I even included the note I'd left on the counter. The investigation didn't go far. The officer assigned to the case called me 2 weeks later and said, "Off the record, she looks real bad in this." But it still took a toll. I almost lost. My new job, they'd received an anonymous email about my criminal activity. I knew it was her. No one else would have gone that far. And that's when I hit rock bottom. Not when I left. Not when I saw the bank account drained. Not even when she called me pathetic. It was this, realizing she was willing to destroy my entire life out of spite. That the person I once trusted most now saw me as a target, not a partner, and I knew then. I couldn't just leave her. I had to burn the bridge behind me so she could never follow. I stopped waiting for peace. That same week, I filed for divorce in the new city where I'd relocated. It wasn't just an escape, it was legal warfare. I made sure the paperwork was airtight. Every affidavit, every financial statement, every screenshot of her spending spree was included. I sent it certified mail to her last known address. But I wasn't done. Because during the credit card audit, I found something interesting. Kendra had been using our joint business card, the one I'd set up years ago under our shared side hustle LLC, for personal beauty expenses, Botox, luxury hotels, even a $700 hair extension service listed under branding materials. I remembered her bragging once that her company had strict expense policies. So I printed everything, every dollar, every violation, and I sent it to her HR department marked confidential, petty, maybe necessary? Absolutely. Because she wasn't just playing dirty, she was dragging me through the mud while living above her means and smearing my name. 3 days later, I got word from a friend of a friend. She'd been suspended pending investigation. Her influencer side gigs started drying up too, probably because she couldn't afford to keep up appearances without access to credit. Did I feel triumphant? Not really, just clear. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. No vibrating phone under my pillow. No spiraling thoughts. No fear of her next move. Just silence. Sometimes revenge doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like quiet. Like finally hearing your own breath again. And for once, it didn't feel like running away. It felt like drawing a line she could never cross again. It started with a blocked number voicemail. I almost didn't listen, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice was unrecognizable. Hoarse, shaky. No fake cheer this time. Just silence then. I messed up. I know I did. Please, just call me. Over the next few days, the floodgates opened. She sent emails with subject lines like, "I'm sorry," and "We can fix this." She wrote a 3-page letter, scanned and attached to one of the emails, about how she'd been going through a mental health crisis and how my absence made her realize what she lost. She said she was willing to go to therapy, ready to take accountability, and that she missed the old us. Funny, the old us died the day she chose injections over survival. I didn't respond. But I watched from afar as her life unraveled. Her work contract wasn't renewed. Her Instagram followers started noticing the sudden dip in glam. The Miami girls she used to party with, they stopped tagging her in photos. The mask cracked. And underneath it, there was no foundation, no substance, no support system. Just someone who'd built her entire identity around appearances and forgot to keep her soul intact. Mutual friends texted me saying she was going through it, that she was staying with her mom, that she cried when someone brought up my name. But I didn't feel pity. I felt peace, not because she was suffering, but because I wasn't anymore. She thought I left her out of anger. She never understood it was clarity. The moment I walked out that door, I stopped trying to fix someone who didn't want to be healed. And now, I was finally learning how to exist, without the weight of her chaos dragging me down. Starting over wasn't cinematic. There were no montages, no swelling music, just quiet, practical choices. I found a small apartment in a slower city. No skyline, no traffic, just the sound of crickets at night and the occasional train in the distance. My cousin helped me move in. We set up the mattress on the floor, plugged in a secondhand coffee maker, and that was that. It was humble. But it was mine. I landed a new job in supply chain logistics. Not glamorous, not high-paying, but steady. Honest. The kind of work that didn't drain my soul or keep me up at night wondering who I was becoming. Every evening I'd walk the nearby trail. Sometimes I'd listen to music. Other times I'd just let the silence do what it does best, remind you that you're alive. I started journaling. Not out of some deep need for therapy, just to empty out. To finally say the things I'd kept trapped inside while pretending to be okay for years. I wrote about the way she used to smile when things were still good. I wrote about the moment I realized love isn't supposed to feel like walking on glass. I wrote about fear and shame and finally, relief. I even started running again. First half a mile, then 2, then 5. With every footfall, I felt her less and less, like I was pounding the memory of her into the pavement. People ask if I'd ever get back together with her. Not a chance. Because once you feel what peace is supposed to feel like, you stop mistaking chaos for passion, and the truth is, I never knew how suffocated I'd been until I finally had room to breathe. If you're with someone who makes you feel crazy for asking where the money went, for wondering why their stories don't line up, for noticing the lies, let me tell you something no one told me soon enough. That's not love. That's emotional theft. I used to think I was being too sensitive, that maybe I was overreacting. That good husbands just suck it up, keep the peace, stay loyal, but peace without respect? Loyalty without honesty? That's not a marriage. That's a performance. The hardest part wasn't walking out. It was realizing how long I stayed hoping she'd become the version of her I'd made up in my head. The version who'd fight with me instead of against me. The version who'd say we and mean it. She never did. And I learned something else. People like her, the ones who manipulate, guilt, gaslight, they don't need help. They need distance. So if you're in that kind of relationship, ask yourself, when was the last time you felt safe sharing your truth? When was the last time your needs weren't treated like burdens? When was the last time your silence wasn't the only way to keep things calm? If the answer's hurt, I want you to know, you're not weak for leaving. You're strong for surviving. I don't regret freezing those accounts. I don't regret taking the car. I don't regret disappearing without another fight. The only thing I regret is not choosing myself sooner. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't a speech or a scene. It's the sound of your footsteps walking toward peace and never looking back.